Here with you guys today. Caitlin Clark is about to get paid. Why, you ask? Well, because she's that damn good. So good that the new collective bargaining agreement has a clause that we're calling here the CCC. The Caitlin Clark clause. They're calling it the epic clause. And this clause means if you come into the league and you're half as good as Caitlin Clark was, you're going to get paid.
The ink was barely dry when the panic started setting in across the league's front offices. Caitlin Clark didn't just break the scoring record, she shattered the WNBA's entire financial foundation with a single, devastating clause. They are calling it the epic clause, but let's be real, everyone in the rooms where it happened is calling it the Caitlin Clark rule. It is a legal maneuver so aggressive that it's going to turn a measly $78,000 rookie salary into a staggering $1.7 million payday almost overnight. The owners are reportedly reeling, because the leverage has shifted entirely. They didn't just give her a raise, they gave her the keys to the entire kingdom, and changed the rules of the game forever.
Caitlin Clark is going to get MVP. And she's going to head into her next contract with a $1.7 million deal. It's because Caitlin Clark's that damn good, but also because she's that damn noticeable. Her notoriety is through the roof. People recognize her. People follow her. You think if nobody paid attention to Caitlin Clark, if she was just another run-of-the-mill, really good WNBA player, but didn't have fans, you think they'd insert this clause? No. Why? Because nobody would know that she's getting paid how much she was getting paid. Nobody would know that these...
The new collective bargaining agreement contains a provision that sounds like something out of a high-stakes corporate takeover. This epic clause, or the exceptional performance on initial contract, is a direct response to the absolute frenzy Caitlin Clark has created. Under the old rules, a rookie was locked into a scale that felt like pocket change compared to the revenue they were generating. Now, if a player comes in and dominates like Caitlin, they can rip up the fourth year of that rookie deal and jump straight to the supermax. It is a fast track to wealth that the league's veterans had to wait nearly a decade to even sniff. The owners were forced into this, because the optics of their biggest star making less than a mid-level manager were becoming a public relations nightmare.
Would know that she's getting paid how much she was getting paid. Nobody would know that these players are sitting at Newark International Airport. The fact that fans saw her running through the Terminal C, they're like, wait, they don't have charter flight. Oh, we got to get her on charter flights. The fact that so many fans were asking, wait, she's the best thing this league has to offer and she's only getting how much? Whoa, that needs to change. That pressure alone forced the hand of the Players Association, forced the hand of the owners. She needs to get paid for it. She needs to get compensated for it. Let's get right into it, shall we? Please like the video, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and subscribe to the channel.
Think about the sheer disrespect of the original numbers that went viral earlier this year, when the world found out that the greatest prospect in the history of the sport was only set to make $76,000 in her first season. The internet nearly imploded. That pressure alone forced the hands of the Players Association and the owners. They realized they couldn't hide the exploitation anymore, because the spotlight was too bright. If Caitlin Clark was just another talented player with a few thousand followers, this clause wouldn't exist, but because she is a cultural phenomenon, the league had to modernize its pay scale at lightning speed. They had to prove they weren't just riding her coattails while keeping her bank account empty.
Told ESPN, the new provision called epic, and Caitlin Clark is epic. So they might not be calling it the CCC themselves, but they got it pretty damn close. The exceptional performance on initial contract allows players to renegotiate what would have been the fourth year of their rookie deal and agree to a 3-year contract extension. They can earn the max in that fourth year if they were previously named all WNBA first team or second team, or the super max if they previously won MVP. Those players would not be eligible for the core designation following that extension.
The financial leap we are about to witness is absolutely unprecedented in women's professional sports. In 2024, Caitlin Clark was earning that famous $78,000 figure. By 2025, her salary is already poised to jump significantly, but the real explosion happens in 2026. Thanks to the new CBA minimums and the Epic clause, she is looking at a jump to $530,000, that is a 5.5 times raise in just 2 years of work. For the owners, this is a massive hit to their traditional budgeting models. They are used to keeping rookie costs low to balance the books, but Clark's impact has made that old-school strategy completely obsolete, and, frankly, impossible to defend.
For example, 2024 Rookie of the Year Caitlin Clark, who made $78,000 in 2025, is poised to see her salary jump to $530,000 in 2026, a source said. She could earn the projected max of $1.3 million in 2027 as a previous All-WNBA player, and the projected super max of $1.7 million in her 2028, the first year of her extended term. The new provision would also be applicable to younger stars such as Aaliyah Boston, who was All-WNBA in 2024 and is max eligible, and Paige Beckers, who was All-WNBA in 2025 and is max eligible.
But the money is only half the story. It was the humiliation of the travel situation that really broke the owner's resolve. Do not think for 1 second that those viral videos of Caitlin Clark running through Terminal C at Newark Liberty International Airport didn't change everything. Fans were outraged, seeing the face of the league navigating public airports like a regular commuter while being mobbed by crowds. It looked amateur, it looked dangerous, and it looked cheap. The pressure from those optics alone forced the league to pivot to charter flights for everyone. The owners had to cough up millions for private travel, because they couldn't afford the negative press of Clark being treated like a bargain bin athlete anymore.
That going to affect the Indiana Fever roster building process moving forward, paying Caitlin Clark, paying AB. What do you do with the rest of the money? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I want everybody to get their GM hat on and let me know who should be getting paid from the Indiana Fever, who was on this roster this past season, and give me 2 names who you want to go after in free agency to help build this team up. Moving along, the Wall Street Journal, and I'm going to be rather quick here, but I'm going to give the Wall Street Journal a little bit of credit, just a little bit. In the middle of a growth spurt for women's basketball, sparked by Caitlin.
The Wall Street Journal didn't mince words when they analyzed this shift, attributing the nearly 400% raise in the salary cap to one person, and one person only. They didn't list a dozen names or talk about general growth trends. They pointed directly at the arrival of number 22. The league was on the verge of a labor impasse that could have delayed the season, but the value of these games was skyrocketing too fast to ignore. Owners were staring down the barrel of a 30-year history ending in a lockout. Just as the money started pouring in, they realized they were sitting on a gold mine, but only if they were willing to pay the person who brought the shovel.
Sparked by Caitlin Clark. Not this name, not that name, not this name, not that name. One name. One name. Now, when you click onto the article, they kind of keep that same edit, but not entirely. Well, let's take a look. WNBA players just made a record leap, a nearly 400% raise. In the middle of a growth spurt for women's basketball sparked by Caitlin Clark, the league reached a collective bargaining agreement with record increases to the salary cap and league minimums. This is an article by Rachel Bachman, not to get confused with Rachel Banham.
The technical details of the clause show just how much power Caitlin Clark has grabbed. To unlock the max or supermax early, a player has to be named to an All-WNBA team or win the MVP. Most rookies take years to adjust to the physical toll of the professional game, but Caitlin already has the All-WNBA status effectively wrapped up. By being one of the best players in the world from day one, she bypassed the traditional dues-paying period that has defined the league for decades. The owners are shocked, because they expected to have 4 years of cheap labor before they had to negotiate. Instead, the Epic clause allows her to renegotiate her value before she even finishes her first contract.
$26,000 of her rookie season. They were also shocked to see her at terminal at Newark International Airport, Dallas Fort Worth, O'Hare in Chicago, San Diego. They're like, whoa, what's going on? Again, don't think that the optics of fans seeing her in the airport didn't make a difference. As soon as those videos started coming out, What did the league do? All right, we'll put you all on charter flights. This looks bad. We'll put you all on charter flights. This looks bad. It's going to be very interesting to see how the Indiana Fever build this roster.
Looking ahead to 2027, the numbers get even more terrifying for rival GMs trying to keep up. Caitlin Clark will be eligible to earn a projected max of $1.3 million in the fourth year of her term. If she wins an MVP, which many experts believe is an inevitability, given her current trajectory, she hits the supermax of $1.7 million by 2028. This isn't just a raise, it's a complete shift in the league's tax bracket. Owners who were used to signing entire rosters for the price of one NBA benchwarmer are now having to find millions of dollars in liquid cash to satisfy these new requirements. The Caitlin Clark effect has turned the WNBA into a high-stakes financial arms race. What makes this even more shocking for the owners is the loss of the core designation. Under the new agreement, players who qualify for this epic clause extension cannot be cored. In WNBA terms, the core designation is basically a franchise tag that prevents players from leaving in free agency. By removing this, the league has given Caitlin Clark total control over her own destiny. She can't be trapped by a front office that fails to build around her. If the Indiana Fever don't put the right pieces in place, she can walk away as an unrestricted free agent. This puts an incredible amount of heat on ownership to not just pay her, but to win immediately. The ripple effect of this clause is already being felt by other young stars who are riding the wave Clark created. Aaliyah Boston and Paige Buchers are now max eligible much sooner than anyone anticipated. Boston is already in a position to see her earnings skyrocket, because she hit those all-WNBA benchmarks. The owners are seeing their projected salary expenses balloon across the board, not just for one player. It's a collective shift, where the top-tier talent is finally being compensated like the icons they are. The days of WNBA stars having to play overseas in the off-season just to make ends meet are rapidly coming to an end for elite players. The Indiana Fever now face a massive roster-building puzzle that would make any GM sweat. How do you pay Caitlin Clark her supermax, pay Aaliyah Boston her max, and still have enough money to field a championship-caliber supporting cast? The new CBA provides more money, but it also creates a top-heavy salary structure that the league has never seen before. Owners are going to have to get creative with their cap management, or risk being stuck with 2 stars and no depth. This is the good problem that every team wants, but it requires a level of financial sophistication that many of these organizations are still trying to develop on the FLY. It is important to remember that just weeks ago, the league was staring into an abyss. There was a very real possibility of games being cancelled for the first time in 30 years. The players knew their worth had tripled overnight because of the Caitlin factor, and they weren't going to settle for the old crumbs. The labor negotiations were described as intense, with the owners eventually realizing that a work stoppage would be a suicide mission for the sport's momentum. They had to give in on the epic clause, because the alternative was a total collapse of the biggest growth spurt in women's sports history. They chose to pay up rather than shut down. The notoriety factor cannot be overstated here. The reason this clause exists is because people recognize Caitlin Clark everywhere she goes. She isn't just a really good player, she is a celebrity. If she were just a standard all-star without the massive fan base, the owners would have kept the status quo. But when fans start asking why the most famous woman in basketball is making less than a backup punter in the NFL, the pressure becomes unbearable. That public scrutiny acted as a secondary negotiator at the table. The fans essentially forced the league into doing the right thing, and the resulting CBA is a victory for anyone who believes in fair market value. The Wall Street Journal's reporting highlighted that, while other stars are mentioned, Clark is the singular spark. This has caused some friction within the league, as veterans feel their years of groundwork are being overshadowed. However, the reality of the bank statement doesn't care about feelings. The revenue is up because of the sellout crowds Clark draws, the jersey sales she generates, and the TV ratings she commands. The owners are shocked, not because they didn't see her talent, but because they didn't realize how quickly she would turn that talent into leverage. She didn't wait her turn, she demanded the whole table, and she got it. the 2026 season is going to be the official year of the payday, when those $500,000 checks start hitting bank accounts. The entire culture of the WNBA will change. We are moving away from the era of happy to be here and into the era of professional dominance. Owners are now in a position where they have to act like major league moguls. They must provide the amenities, the travel, and the salaries that match the billion-dollar valuations their teams are now receiving. Caitlin Clark didn't just force a new clause into a contract, she forced an entire industry to grow up, or get out of the way. Renegotiating that fourth year is the real kicker that has owners losing sleep. Usually, a team has total control over a rookie for 4 years at a fixed, low price. It's the most valuable asset in sports. By allowing that fourth year to be converted into a max deal, the CBA has essentially robbed teams of their cheapest years of elite production. For a team like the Indiana Fever, it means their window to win on a budget has been cut short. They have to be aggressive in free agency right now, because the luxury of cheap star power is disappearing. The clock is ticking louder than ever before for every team with a top-tier rookie. There is also the matter of supermax eligibility being tied to MVP. If Caitlin Clark wins MVP this year, she becomes eligible for that $1.7 million figure even earlier than projected. The league's gatekeepers are seeing their long-term financial plans go up in smoke, because she is performing at a level that usually takes a decade to reach. It is a literal, exceptional performance clause, designed for the 1% of the 1%, and the shock comes from the fact that we have a player who fits that description perfectly in her very first season. The owners prepared for a star, they didn't prepare for a supernova. The impact on the Players Association has been just as dramatic. They found themselves with a level of bargaining power they had never experienced in 30 years of existence. They were able to push for record increases in the salary cap and league minimums, because they had the ultimate trump card. They knew the league couldn't afford to lose its new face. The owners tried to hold the line, but every time a new ratings report came out showing Clark outperforming NBA playoff games, their arguments for low pay crumbled. It was a masterclass in using cultural momentum to secure long-term financial security for an entire workforce that we are also seeing the end of the core era for these elite young players. By making these stars ineligible for the core designation after their extension, the league is moving toward a more player-friendly model, similar to the NBA. This is a nightmare for small market owners, who fear their stars will bolt for bigger cities as soon as they get paid. But for Caitlin Clark, it represents total freedom. She has the money, she has the fame, and now she has the legal right to choose where she plays. The owners are realizing that they no longer own these players, they are partners with them, and that is a very uncomfortable shift for the old guard. The $1.3 million max in 2027 is a number that seemed like a fantasy just 24 months ago. Back then, the highest paid players in the league were barely making $200,000. To see that figure quintuple in such a short window is a testament to the notability factor Clark brings to the table. People aren't just watching, they are invested. They are tracking her salary, her travel, and her treatment. That level of fan engagement has made it impossible for owners to hide behind the small market, or niche sport, excuses they've used for decades to keep costs down. The curtain has been pulled back. As we look at the future of the Indiana Fever, the question of who gets paid next is the only thing that matters. The front office has to decide which veterans are worth keeping and which ones have to be sacrificed to make room for the CC clause. It's a ruthless new reality. You can't pay everyone when your top 2 stars are taking up nearly half the cap. The owners who once enjoyed a quiet, predictable business are now dealing with the stresses of a major professional sports franchise. They are shocked, because the hobby has officially become a high-stakes, big-money industry that requires every cent of their attention. Caitlin Clark's payday is more than just a personal win, it is a structural revolution. She has forced the WNBA to acknowledge that the old ways of doing business were built on an outdated model of scarcity. By proving that there is an infinite demand for women's basketball when it's played at her level, she has unlocked a wealth of opportunities for every player who follows her. The owners might be shocked by the sudden bill they have to pay, but they are also seeing their franchise values skyrocket into the hundreds of millions. It is a trade-off they were forced to make, but it's one that will define the sport for the next century. In the end, this isn't just about a clause in a contract. It's about the power of a single individual to move an entire mountain. Caitlin Clark didn't wait for permission to be the best, and she didn't wait for permission to get paid like it. She stepped onto the court, blew the roof off the building, and left the owners with no choice but to change the law of the land.